Fast forward, any come our channel social, so mams are say AGH Politics Avenue. Political source at training because making headlines. And your jump any be exomo, or Hanidim Yam Braxi must end it. He did Kanya message so be subscribe to the channel. It's a notification bell, share now for friends or answer into me and KB. And Idiom Yam Braximo, Mesho say Yambo in Brian Simo. And right breaking mouth say a year ammunitions be a new free. Ghana Armed Forces Air National Security and Timi Ankwa Kudru Ama His Excellency John Dramani Mahama etimi edinano etumubi se omu enhwem enyem nhwemu no mo hu baby potia eye sa akode no eko na me no kase eye former National Security Box eye Kofi Amankwa menu na nado dankwa Akuffo Addo Idin so intimi empemuda because ono ene na wo ye commander in chief under Ghana Armed Forces na kiane ken nyanya TX BNI ebitimi ato omunsa afre sa akukudamun ama omunso atumi ababi omano afasa mixing ammunitions no na security aspect ahodo na na me no kase omagin kunya omu ebo yenchiremu efasase mu si ho ene ehun security implications but that say waje emre ewa say yemu ranksimu.
John Dramani Mahama, who is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, pointed out this particular matter not too long ago, and this is it. He indicated that it is particularly true given the troubling proliferation of military-grade weapons. This was sometime in February, the 27th of February, during the State of the Nation address. So this matter we are talking about today came to the notice of this administration sometime in February, that the military-grade weapons that fell into unauthorized hands under the previous administration, and that these weapons pose a significant threat to our national security and constitutional democracy, endangering the safety of all Ghanaians and potentially exacerbating the existing conflicts such as chieftaincy disputes and many others. Now, think about it. Even though the defense minister did not give detail of the kind of military-grade weapon, that's the ammunitions, I beg your pardon, that we're dealing with, there is some pointer that raises a matter of concern as well. So we're asking questions as to exactly what the previous administration specifically did with this ammunitions that we understand, according to the defense minister, cannot be accounted for or have gone missing. Well, this is a former deputy defense minister, immediate past deputy defense minister of this country, Kofi Amankwa Menu. He spoke on Accra-based Joy FM, and this is what he said. He said, it will not be too difficult knowing where a gun or ammunition went, who took what it was used for. And he finds it a bit absurd that this current defense minister, Dr. Edward Manibuama, will run to the public with some of these issues, because he was expecting that, in his view, these matters bordering on national security, the minister shouldn't talk about it. But if you've realized this, government accountability share is that platform was for the minister to account to the people, and taking into consideration the fact that the president had already mentioned it, and then my colleague Komakruche asked this question about an update of what has become of this missing ammunition. But this former deputy defense minister says that, look, these matters, it's not too difficult for the minister of defense to find answers to, and that he will find it difficult if the minister will not get answers that he needs as to where the ammunition is as we speak, and that he is the minister. When the records are there, who will tamper with it? And remember, this ammunition, according to Dr. Manibuama, was transferred from the Ghana Armed Forces to the National Security last year. So it stands to reason that it was during this month's tenure as Deputy Defense Minister that that particular transfer was done. But he says that, look, it's not a big deal. If you want answers, Dr. Manibuama, you're going to get it. But thankfully, we have the Deputy Defense Minister, NS Broja Jemfi, joining us on Zoom right now. So, Broja Jemfi, good evening. Thank you, really, for staying to talk to us here on Ghana Tonight. First of all, this is the response of your predecessor, indicating that this matter that you're raising and putting into the public is not really a big deal. That if you find these questions begging, you're going to get answers because you are the minister. And when the records are there, who is going to tamper with it? So really, it's not much of a big issue. So why are you making it a big deal?
Well, thank you, my brother. Let me first put the issue into its proper perspective. The Minister for Defense was today at Government Accountability Series, where he was supposed to project the situation as he met as the minister and what has happened so far in the last 7 months. So that is the exercise that the minister was at the presidency to do today. Now, he mentioned that some irregular transfer of ammunitions running into thousands were taken from the Ghana Armed Forces to national security last year. And these ammunitions cannot be accounted for. This is what the minister said. Now, what does it mean? The Ghana Armed Forces have protocols and procedures when they have to transfer any assets belonging to the Ghana Armed Forces to any agency or any place for whatever purpose that it is meant for. Now, these procedures and protocols were not followed in this particular instance when the thousands of ammunitions were transferred to the national security outfit. And we began to the purpose, because if you check, you would notice that this transfer occurred very close to the elections. And so we needed to know why and the motive. Now, we are unable to get concrete answers from the national security as to where these ammunitions actually were taken to. And so, as the minister reported, we have left it at the level of the national security to dig further and give us some information about it. Note that these ammunitions are assets belonging to the Ghana Armed Forces. And so the minister is obliged to report to the people of Ghana exactly what we met and what we have done so far. Now, Alfred, after giving you this background, would you say that this putting out this information was unnecessary?
I see. Well, I think the verdict is out there for the people who are watching us right now. But it's instructive that, Mr. President, you make the point that the transfer of these thousands of military-grade ammunition from the Ghana Armed Forces to the national security was done close to December 7. You're saying a few days or weeks to the December 7 elections last year. Now, has there been a specific detail as to exactly why this transfer was done? What was it meant for? And for what purpose exactly was this transfer done, taking into consideration the timing that you talk about, that was close to the elections last year?
That is what we are chasing now. Because before any asset, be it ammunition, be it tactical vehicles, any asset belonging to the Ghana Armed Forces even moves to an operational area, there are protocols, there will be records. But in this particular case, the movement or the transfer occurred without any documentation backing it. If there were any documentation, then it would have been an after process, which is to try to justify the transfer. But that is just one side of the story. The other side of the story is when these ammunitions were received at the National Security Secretariat, where and what were they used for? This has not been accounted for. And so that is the information the minister put out. He did not mention anybody's name. He did not accuse any past government official. And so I'm very surprised that my very good brother, Honorable Amankwamenu, has jumped to this to defend it. Is it not a fact that the transfer occurred? That's a fact. Was it regular? Did it follow protocols? It did not. Can we account for these ammunitions currently? As far as we are concerned, and as I do this interview with you this evening.
I see, but then again, yes, you did not mention any former government official's name, but he is only coming in and he's been asked questions because he is a former deputy defense minister. The portfolio that you occupy now and that ministry having jurisdiction over this kind of transfer, he obviously has to be asked questions. But then again, even if you didn't mention any former government official's name in all of this, someone has to answer for this, is it not? Because you're saying it did not follow protocol, it is irregular, it is unusual. Somebody must be giving some answers to the questions as to why it was moved, where they are now, and why it was moved during that period. You say close to election day, December 7. We need answers, don't we?
Saying that I'm unable to speak to timelines, but what I can assure you and the watching public is that the national security is dealing with it. And from our part, we are also putting in place measures to ensure that such an irregularity does not repeat within the Ghana Armed Forces or any agency under the ministry. These are ammunitions belonging to the Ghana Armed Forces.
And stay with me a bit, and let me bring in Richard Commodore. He's a security analyst as well. Mr. Commodore, thank you so much for joining us on this, because this is a matter that started unfolding earlier within the day when my colleague Komla Kloche asked question of the updates on this situation, and we got this update from the minister. Now you're hearing a bit more detail from the deputy minister right now that this is an irregular movement. It didn't follow protocol. There's no documentation on this movement of the thousands of military-grade ammunition from the armed forces to the national security, and they cannot be traced. And obviously, we don't have answers right now. How does all of this strike you?
I was a bit surprised that for 7 months, we are unable to find disappearing ammunitions and armored or guns, and for that matter. I seriously believe that my brother Chaskipo, the director BNI or director general NIB, and his men have the capacity to investigate this matter and find out where the ammunitions are. And I'm saying that I cannot contradict the minister, but I will suggestively recommend that the BNI should be the leading agency in investigating the disappearing of ammunitions in the quantities we are talking about. But that is a basic knowledge. What was the nature of the security operations at the National Security Secretariat? Do they have a battalion? Do they have ground troopers? Why would they need such ammunitions? In the military or within the security intelligence environment, we pride ourselves in dealing with command and control and standardizations. I seriously believe that at any point in time, whatever has been moved and whatever has been received within the chain of activity, somebody is responsible for, and somebody will have to be held accountable. and I believe that the BNI has the capacity. I know there's a change over at the National Security Secretariat, and Osman Razak, the security coordinator, and many of the directors, they have their new people, but they were the receiving agency. And even though they are tasked to investigate, I seriously believe that the BNI has the capacity and they are well positioned to investigate this matter, particularly for posterity. And they may keep the documents and provide the answers to government so that government can take a decision on this matter.
In what form should the investigations take? Because as we're speaking now, the president spoke about it in February. We're getting this update from the minister now. In what form should the investigation take?
If this matter has not landed on the decks of my brother Chaskipo, the director of BNI, I will suggestively recommend the minister informs him and his unit to the BNI as quickly as possible. And it wouldn't take them so long to be able to crack the whip and open it up and unravel what actually happened and the actual details. For us as investigators, it's a simple matter. We will go for the chain of activities, and we will look out for the standard procedures, where there are vulnerabilities and where there are breaches, and what created the lapses. If it is true, the numbers we are talking about, which I will not be surprised it is true, then it means that somebody might have kept these ammunitions. Some could link to the black market, or some may be linking to galamseyers, or they might be hiding in the bunkers of some people. And the state must be interested in this matter. We cannot afford to close our eyes and sleep at a time when the Small Arms Commission is trying so hard to deal with excessive nature of guns and gun violence in this country. So we need to deal with it. And it's a basic something the investigators at the BNI can quickly get it done, and the minister or the attorney general will have the results. I can seriously attest to the fact that the BNI has the capacity in dealing with such things.
But also taking into consideration the fact that, I mean, we can understand why the deputy minister cannot give so much detail, beyond what the minister has said. He obviously needs some clearance to do that. But then again, take a look at this, that you know how the security architecture works in this country. I mean, an officer should have authorized the movement, is it not? I mean, if we are talking about thousands of military-grade ammunition, that has to go through a certain procedure or a protocol. Now, Ernest Broja Jemfi, the Deputy Defense Minister, is saying this movement did not go through that protocol. It is irregular. It is unusual. Under what circumstance can that happen?
Definitely. You know, the military is the government agency, and politicians influence some of these things. Before the elections, I am very active within the security intelligence environment in this country, particularly within the Greater Accra region. The 2024 elections, we did a lot of background checks, and we babysit a lot of locations within the country, particularly within Greater Accra. Afraid if you've been to the field that you have been, many of the things that are coming out are not surprising to some of us at all. Because during elections or days leading to elections, you will hear some of these things being done, movement of arms and movement of ammunition and many of these things. And sometimes I feel the people we led into offices, particularly those in military uniforms, they do themselves a little bit of disservice. I'm looking forward to a day where politicians will give an instruction, and professionals as they are, they will lay down their tools and walk away. And that will become part of the lessons for the junior ranks to learn. But ask yourself, even if it is one ammunition that is moved from the military barracks into National Security Secretariat, what is the nature for security operations at the Secretariat that warrant a movement of ammunition or armory in the first place? Who are those responsible for these operations? And what is the intended purposes? You are likely to have politicians fueling in. And that is why this evening you were introduced with politicians writing and Jemfi coming to counteract what the NPP guy said. Because he has everything to do with politics. Only God knows what we're sitting on and what have become of this country. I think that some of the decisions we take for ourselves as Black people and as people who want our democracy to triumph, sometimes we let ourselves down and it doesn't sound properly at all. No matter what it takes, let the BNI investigate, let people be held accountable where the breaches came from and where the vulnerabilities came from. That is the only way you can allay the fears of Ghanaians, considering the fact that a lot of our people that are becoming victims of gun violence in this country.
We and some of the team also watching on some was so Jimbre Ewa. That's any so bad in Yadum Biadumania. Yen San Shemwing, not in some all kinds of so. But that's so Jimbre.